Okay, well, thank you. It feels like old times here almost. Let's see. Let me get to my notes. I want to talk about geographical representation and how it looks to me. Let me start off by reminding you that Austin has had single-member districts for a very long time, but there really only been two districts. We have the West Austin district where about 90% of the folks elected to the city council have lived, and then there's the other district made up of all the rest of Austin that occasionally elected someone who didn't live in West Austin. Ken Martin over here edits the Austin Bulldog, and he showed by digging through the old records that that was so. In other words, Austin has had unfair and undemocratic government since at least the 1970s, and it's past time to change to more democratic government like the rest of the country has already. The at-large system is an anachronism that serves the interest of more or less big money and the power brokers, but it's become a barrier to democracy. We don't use the at-large system on any other level of government. There's no justification in a large city like ours, except it makes it easier to control the results of elections. If you have districts, the more districts you have, the harder it gets to buy elections and control the council votes. The so-called gentleman's agreement set up by two power brokers, Bill Youngblood and Ed Wendler, who nobody ever elected, that's now made it necessary to have a fair chance of electing an African American and a Hispanic to the Austin City Council. The situation here is that these minorities have usually been selected by a bunch of Anglo power brokers. The racial representation requirement is now the test that we have to meet when we finally do get democratic geographic representation. We're subject to the Federal Voting Rights Act, which requires a fair shot at minority representation. The problem for some is that this federal law limits our options when we finally do get fair representation. As Austin is gentrified, a lot of the African Americans have been forced out of office, out of Austin, meaning that we need to have a lot of districts, at least 10 of them, to give a fair chance for their elected representation. Some will argue that a lot of districts is a bad thing, but I understand that both Nashville and Milwaukee have more than 30 districts each. Maybe we don't need that many, but my feeling is we need more. The more districts we have, the more grassroots democracy we'll get. So having a lot of districts isn't a bad thing. I think it's a good thing to feel like you have somebody close by and representative to your local, responsive to your local problems. Somebody local and close who it's easier to kick out if they don't vote the way folks in your area think and want.
Mr. Baker, you hit the 3 minutes almost on the dot. Thank you very much. Are there any very brief questions for Mr. Baker?